Chapter 11. Doubts and denial. The week passed by in a blur, and Eric continued playing his dangerous game. During the day, he went through the motions, working, responding to messages from Tasha when necessary, but his mind was always elsewhere. At night, when Tasha texted him sweet messages, hoping to feel closer to him, he would reply briefly, then tell her he needed to sleep. And yet, he remained online. Not for her, but for Sophia. Their late-night chats were filled with flirtation, teasing, and stolen moments that made him crave her even more. When Tasha called unexpectedly, he would ignore the phone, watching it ring until it stopped. If she sent messages asking why he didn't pick up, he would make up excuses later. I was exhausted, baby. I slept off. But deep down, Tasha knew something wasn't right. Weekend visit to Agatha by Saturday, the unsettling feeling in Tasha's chest had grown unbearable. She needed to talk to someone. So she went to visit her close friend, Agatha, the same friend who had introduced her to Eric. If anyone could reassure her, it was her. Agatha's apartment was warm and welcoming, with the scent of freshly brewed coffee filling the air. As they sat on the couch, Tasha hesitated for a moment before finally opening up. Agatha, she sighed, running a hand over her belly. I don't know what's happening with Eric. Agatha raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Tasha sighed deeply. He's changed. He doesn't give me much attention anymore. Sometimes when we're chatting, he'll suddenly say he needs to sleep. But when I check, he's still online. And when I call, he won't pick up. Agatha listened carefully before shaking her head with a small laugh. Come on, Tasha. That doesn't sound like Eric at all. He's a quiet, humble, and caring guy. He would never double date. Tasha looked down, biting her lip. I pray so, because he told me he was ready to settle down. That's why we agreed to have a baby. Agatha reached over and squeezed her hand. Listen, sometimes men go through phases where they just need space. It's nothing personal. Maybe he's stressed with work, or maybe he's just in one of those moods where he wants to be left alone for a while. You really think so? Tasha asked, uncertainty in her voice. Agatha nodded confidently. Give him some time. He'll be back to the loving Eric you know. Tasha let out a small sigh of relief. Maybe she was overthinking things. Maybe Eric was just dealing with something and needed space. Agatha smiled, changing the topic. Now enough about that. Let's talk about other things. How's life? How's the pregnancy going? Tasha finally smiled, relaxing a little. It's been a journey, but I can't wait to meet my baby. And just like that, the conversation shifted. But even as they talked, a small voice in Tasha's head whispered, What if I'm right? To be continued. Chapter 12. Late night whispers. Eric lounged comfortably on his couch, a dim glow from the TV casting soft shadows across the room. A movie played in the background, but his attention was split, half on the screen and half on his phone, where he was deep in conversation with Sophia. His lips curled into a smirk as her name popped up again, this time not as a message, but a video call. Without hesitation, he answered. Hey, beautiful, he said smoothly, tilting the phone slightly so she could see his relaxed position. Sophia's face appeared on the screen, her eyes sparkling with warmth. Hey, baby, what are you up to? Eric turned the camera toward the TV. Watching a movie. And talking to you. Sophia pouted playfully. Is that why you've been replying a little late? Eric chuckled, bringing the phone back to his face. What? You think I'm with someone? She shook her head, but after a brief pause, she sighed. Let me not lie. I did think about it for a second. Eric's expression softened as he leaned closer to the camera. Sophia, you know I would never do anything to hurt you. She smiled, her voice turning softer. I know, baby, and I trust you. Eric's voice dropped to a whisper. Good, because you're the only one I want. Sophia exhaled slowly, her eyes locking onto his through the screen. I love hearing that, she murmured. A small silence settled between them, comfortable and full of unspoken longing. What are you doing now? She finally asked. Eric stretched his legs, his voice laced with teasing. Feeling lonely. Watching movies. And counting down the hours until you come back tomorrow so I can visit. I miss my baby. Sophia sighed dramatically. I miss you too. I hate being away from you. Eric smirked. Then come back now. She laughed. Oh, I wish. Her eyes twinkled suddenly, as if a thought had crossed her mind. Wait, Monday is your birthday, right? Eric nodded. Yeah, it is. Sophia bit her lip, looking excited. Then you have to call in sick. I have a special surprise for you. Eric raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Oh, what kind of surprise? She giggled, shaking her head. If I tell you, it won't be a surprise anymore. Eric groaned playfully. Come on, just a hint? Nope, she teased. You'll have to wait. He chuckled, running a hand through his hair. Fine, I won't push. But now I really can't wait for Monday. Sophia smirked. Good. Just be ready, baby. I promise you. It's going to be unforgettable. Their conversation continued, filled with laughter, teasing, and soft confessions, two lovers lost in their own secret world. Chapter 13. A web of lies after ending his late-night call with Sophia. Eric leaned back on the couch, a smug smile tugging at his lips. Everything was falling into place perfectly, but there was still one loose end he needed to take care of, Tasha. With a deep breath, he dialed her number. She picked up almost immediately. Hey, baby, she said, her voice soft and warm. Hey, love, Eric replied smoothly. I wanted to tell you something. I'm traveling tomorrow. Tasha frowned. Traveling? To where? To a friend's place, he said casually. And from there, I have an interview on Monday. Silence. Then Tasha spoke, her tone confused. Interview? Since when were you looking for another job? Eric cursed internally. He hadn't expected her to ask that. But as always, he was quick on his feet. Oh, this was something I applied for a long time ago, he lied effortlessly. Honestly, I had even forgotten about it. But I got an email today inviting me for an interview. Tasha was quiet for a moment. I wish you had told me earlier. I actually made plans for your birthday. Eric let out a small sigh, pretending to be disappointed. Ah, babe, I'm so sorry. But don't worry, we have many more birthdays to celebrate together. I just can't miss this opportunity. Tasha hesitated, clearly still a little upset. I just wanted us to spend time together. I know, baby. And I promise I'll make it up to you, he said in his most reassuring tone. But I really have to do this. She sighed. All right. I won't stop you from going to an interview. Eric smiled. That's my girl. After a few more sweet words, he hung up, feeling satisfied. But he wasn't done yet. Next, he dialed his best friend and colleague, Martin. Yo, Eric. What's up? Martin answered. Hey, bro. Just a heads up. I won't be coming to work on Monday, Eric said smoothly. I told the company I'll be sick. So if anyone asks, just back me up. Martin chuckled. Sick, huh? What's really going on? Eric smirked. Nothing serious. Just some personal stuff I need to take care of. Martin let out a low whistle. Man, you've been acting mysterious lately. Eric laughed. Nothing mysterious, bro. Just covering all my bases. Well, all right. If anyone asks, you're sick, Martin said. But you owe me one. Eric grinned. Deal. As he hung up, a wave of satisfaction washed over him. He had covered all angles. Tasha thought he was at an interview. His workplace believed he was sick. And Sophia? She was waiting for him with open arms. Everything was perfect, to be continued. Chapter 14. A weekend of passion and luxury Sunday arrived, and Eric was more than ready to see Sophia. As soon as she opened the door, he didn't waste a second. He pulled her into his arms, pressing his lips against hers in a deep, hungry kiss. Sophia laughed between kisses, playfully pushing at his chest. Eric, stop. At least let me close the door first. But Eric wasn't listening. He lifted her off the ground slightly, his hands roaming her curves as he walked her backward into the living room. The door swung shut behind them. Sophia let out a breathless giggle as Eric laid her down on the couch, hovering over her. Baby, your surprise first, she whispered, her fingers tracing his jaw. Eric smirked, kissing down her neck. Don't worry. The surprise can wait. His hands moved to her clothes, sliding them off slowly, teasingly, as their bodies intertwined. Their lips met over and over again, each kiss more heated than the last. Sophia moaned loudly, her body arching against his. That afternoon, they lost themselves in each other completely. The surprise after their passion had settled, they lay on the couch, tangled in each other's arms. Sophia ran her fingers through Eric's hair, sighing in satisfaction. That was amazing. Eric smirked, kissing her shoulder. You're amazing, my love. You're so sweet. I can never get enough of you. Sophia smiled, but a flicker of insecurity crossed her face. You still find me attractive. Even at my age. Eric lifted his head, cupping her face. Baby, I love you just the way you are. If I could turn back time, I wouldn't change a single thing about you. She exhaled softly, looking at him with deep affection. Come, she whispered, sitting up. Let me show you something. Eric raised an eyebrow. What is it? Just trust me. She stood, reaching for his hand, and led him outside. As they stepped into the driveway, she suddenly covered his eyes with her hands. Hey, he chuckled. Why are you covering my eyes? You'll see, she teased. She guided him a few steps forward before finally removing her hands. When Eric opened his eyes, his breath caught. Right in front of him was a sleek, brand new Mercedes-Benz, the latest model, shining under the afternoon sun. This is for you, my love, Sophia whispered, watching his reaction. Eric's mouth fell open. What? He turned to her, his eyes wide with disbelief. Sophia laughed at his stunned expression. I wanted to spoil you, baby. You deserve it. Eric ran a hand over the smooth exterior, completely in awe. Damn, Sophia. I don't even know what to say. Say you love it, she said with a smirk. I love it, he said, shaking his head in disbelief. He quickly got in, started the engine, and revved it up. The power, the luxury, it was perfect. Come on, baby, he grinned, looking at Sophia. Hop in. She slid into the passenger's seat, and Eric drove around the compound, still processing that this was his car. You know what, he said suddenly. We're celebrating tonight. We're going to the club. Sophia laughed, shaking her head. You're trouble. Eric smirked. And you love it. A night to remember that night, they arrived at one of the most exclusive clubs in town, dressed to impress. The music was loud, the lights flashing in colorful patterns as they stepped inside. People turned their heads, noticing the confident young man with the stunning, elegant older woman by his side. Eric ordered bottles of the finest champagne, popping one open as Sophia giggled, clinking her glass against his. To us, she whispered. To us, he echoed, taking a sip before pulling her in for a deep kiss. The night was wild, dancing, drinking, laughter filling the air as they enjoyed every moment. By the time the party was over, they were both tipsy, leaning into each other as Eric drove them back to Sophia's penthouse. Heat in the shower the moment they stepped inside. Eric grabbed Sophia's hand and led her straight to the bathroom. Shower first, he murmured against her neck. Sophia giggled, swaying slightly from the champagne. Are you sure you're not just trying to get me naked again? Eric smirked. Maybe. They stepped into the warm water, the steam rising around them. As soon as the droplets hit their skin, Eric wrapped his arms around her from behind, his lips trailing along her shoulder. Sophia let out a soft moan, leaning into him. Eric, she whispered. His hands roamed down her body, teasing, caressing, making her tremble. She braced her hands against the tiled wall, arching her back as she felt him press against her. Baby, I need you, she moaned. Eric groaned, gripping her hips as he gave her exactly what she wanted. The water ran down their bodies as they moved together, their moans echoing against the bathroom walls. Meanwhile, back in her small apartment, Tasha lay in bed, staring at her phone. She had sent Eric a few messages earlier, but he hadn't responded. She sighed, shaking her head. Maybe he's studying for his interview. Deciding not to disturb him, she typed one last message. Happy birthday, my love. Sleep well. I can't wait to celebrate with you when you return. She hit send, placed her phone on the nightstand, and curled up under the blankets. Little did she know, Eric was far from sleeping. To be continued. Chapter 15. A proposal of love and luxury. The morning sun streamed through the sheer curtains, casting a golden glow over the bedroom. Wrapped in silk sheets, Eric and Sophia lay tangled in each other's arms, their bodies still warm from the passion of the night before. Sophia traced lazy circles on Eric's chest, sighing contentedly as she rested her head against him. MMM. I don't want to get up, she murmured. Eric smirked, running his fingers through her hair. Then don't. Let's stay in bed all day. She giggled, looking up at him with playful eyes. Tempting. But I actually have a proposal for you. Eric raised an eyebrow, intrigued. A proposal? Now you've got my attention. Sophia propped herself up on one elbow, watching his face as she spoke. I want you to start working at my company. Eric blinked, processing her words. Wait, what? She smiled, her fingers lightly tracing his jaw. I'll rent an apartment for you, something nice, in a quiet area. That way, you'll have your own space, especially when family members want to visit. No one will be able to judge us or tell us that we're not good for each other. Eric listened, his mind racing. Sophia's voice softened as she added, I want us to enjoy this. For a long time. Because, baby, no one satisfies me the way you do. A slow, knowing smirk spread across Eric's face. He leaned in, pressing a soft kiss to her forehead. You're so thoughtful and amazing, my love. So, does that mean you'll do it? She asked, searching his eyes. Eric chuckled. Just let me know when you find the place. I'll tell my company that I'm leaving. Sophia's eyes widened slightly. I didn't expect you to accept so easily. He smirked, brushing his lips against hers. I'd do anything for you, baby. Sophia let out a soft sigh, completely smitten. She cupped his face and kissed him deeply. You're so perfect. They both smiled against each other's lips, their bodies pressing together once more as the morning faded into another unforgettable moment, to be continued. Chapter 16. Cracks in the mask. The following day at work, Eric was at his desk, scrolling through his emails when Martin approached with a smirk. Sup, buddy? So, where did you say? Before he could finish, Eric shot him a look and quickly stood up. Not here, he muttered, grabbing Martin's arm and leading him outside the office, away from listening ears. Once they were alone, Martin folded his arms and raised an eyebrow. Okay, what's going on? Eric exhaled, running a hand over his chin. I'm leaving this place, bro. Martin's eyes widened. What do you mean you're leaving? I got a new job, Eric said smoothly. For real? Martin asked, looking skeptical. Since the past 2 weeks, you've been acting strange as hell, man. And now you tell me you had an interview. He scoffed. You only mentioned it a day before, and now you're leaving? Bro, I can't put my finger on it, but something's not right. Eric forced a chuckle, keeping his tone light. Come on, man. It's not that deep. I sent out that application a long time ago. Martin cut him off, shaking his head. And you couldn't tell me you were planning to change jobs? Eric sighed, pretending to be regretful. I'm sorry, bro. I thought I did. Look, thanks for covering for me. And if there's an opportunity at the new place, you know I'll hook you up. Martin studied him for a long moment, then let out a breath. All right, man. If you say so. They talked for a bit longer before heading back inside. But as Eric walked away, he could still feel Martin's eyes on him, full of doubt, the unwanted surprise after work. Eric walked up to his apartment, ready to collapse on his bed. But the moment he unlocked the door, he froze. The lights were dimmed, and scattered across the floor were dozens of rose petals. A soft glow came from the dining table, where a beautifully decorated birthday cake sat, candles flickering. And then, from across the room, Tasha appeared. She was wearing a stunning red dress that hugged her curves, walking toward him with slow, elegant steps. Happy birthday, my love, she whispered, her eyes glowing with affection. Eric swallowed, feeling a wave of irritation instead of gratitude. But he forced a small smile. Thanks for the surprise, baby. Tasha beamed, reaching up to kiss him. Eric kissed her back, but casually, barely lingering before pulling away. I should freshen up, he said quickly, not meeting her eyes as he walked past her toward the bathroom. Tasha stood there for a moment, her smile faltering. A cold celebration when Eric returned. He blew out the candles on the cake. Tasha clapped, giggling. You didn't even make a wish. Eric shrugged. Don't worry about it. Tasha's heart sank a little. Something was off, but she wasn't going to let it ruin the night. She walked over to the stereo and put on soft, sensual music. Slowly, she turned back to Eric, her red net gown barely concealing her figure. Come dance with me, she whispered. Eric sighed, running a hand through his hair. I'm tired. Tasha frowned slightly but didn't give up. She walked toward him, placing her hands on his shoulders. Just one dance, baby, she coaxed, leaning in to kiss him. But Eric suddenly pushed her away. I said I'm tired. Can't you listen? Tasha staggered back, shock flashing across her face. She stared at him, hurt flooding her eyes. Eric, what's wrong? Why are you being like this? Eric scoffed, rubbing his temples. If you're done whining, you can go home. Silence. Tasha blinked, her lips parting slightly as if she hadn't heard him right. Her eyes darted toward the table. The uneaten cake, the untouched decorations. She had planned everything to make him happy. But he didn't care. Eric turned his back to her and walked into the bedroom, shutting the door without another word. Tasha stood there, frozen, before slowly sinking onto the floor. Tears welled up in her eyes as she stared at the beautiful night she had planned. The roses, the candles, the cake that now seemed pointless. She clutched her chest, confusion and pain tightening around her heart. What did I do wrong? But deep down, a whisper of doubt crept into her mind. What if? It's not about me at all, to be continued. Hope you're enjoying the story. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.